Hello, this is Mary to Mary, and today we're going to make a quarterback tier list for the upcoming season. I'm just going to kind of mix it with how I think they'll perform next season and how they did perform this past season. And for this tier list, I've got this previously made tier list. And I'm just gonna use the starters. I'm sure you would love my opinion on, you know, Max Brosmer, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near a starter next year after the production he's had this year, although that was against the Super Bowl team. But let's start. This is my first NFL video. Sorry I've been off on a break, but let's just start with the Arizona Cardinals. And um, I know that I said we're doing starters, but I feel like Jacoby Brissett could really be a starter next year. And Kyler Murray, I know he's getting a lot of flack. I know people are saying he should go to a different team, and he probably will, but that's probably not as much of a reflection on him as much as just how much the Arizona Cardinals needs to change. But starting with Kyler Murray, you know, he's really perfectly described by our tier list. Oh, we should probably go by the tiers. Well, we got elite, so just the top of the top. You know, like not your top 10, but like the top of the top 10. The best starters you could possibly have. Franchise guys. You'll probably retire with this team. Will probably win a Super Bowl in their life, or it's a shame if they don't. And then superstars. Those are just players that they constantly do well. They constantly bring just the best to their team. Maybe they're not at the level of the elite. They're not. They could potentially still have more to prove to be a Hall of Famer, but they'll probably make an All Pro. They could be in the MVP conversation, and stars just a little below that. Maybe not an MVP, but Pro Bowl type player. I know it's different now, but Pro Bowl type player. And then under that we have development. Um, you know, they're developing, but you could see them on a year by year basis becoming and reaching that superstar potential. But you're not sure if they're not exactly there yet. But they're young and they still have time. It's not going to be like an older person. Um, and then average starters is just someone you're okay with them on your team. They could be really bad. Like last season, you could say that Geno Smith was average, and then he turned out to be not very good this year. Or they can, have potential to be better than they were this season. But they're fairly average. Then you got the one I got Kyler Murray in development with star upside. These people are still somewhat young, but they're not. They can't reach the superstar potential. That window's closed, but they've shown some flashes. You got some fringe starters. They could start. They could make a splash, but really they're not that great. And then the bottom three tiers, you got you know potential to become a starter, and then just backups, good or bad. We're probably not going to focus on those two bottom tiers, but if you were a starter this year and you're on those tiers, that's a really bad sign. But Kyler Murray, I would say he has development, the star upside, mainly because he's got the tools he needs. I know we keep saying he's short, all that stuff. I still think he could potentially be a starter, and a good one at that, if he's on a good team. But he just can't do it on a team like the Arizona Cardinals. And for that reason, he's not going to be a great player. He's never going to be this great player. But, Sam Darnold has shown us, if you have a good team, you can really do anything. And people are saying he might go to the Vikings. Maybe he'll prove that he's got starter potential and star potential. But I think we're well enough into his career where excuses for him start to narrow a lot every year he doesn't succeed. So I think he's past superstar potential. And Jacoby Brissett, also not exactly a starter. I want to say development with starter upside, but I really feel like he's a fringe starter. He didn't have a great season But again, he's not on a great team. He's on the Arizona Cardinals. There's not much I can ask of Jacoby Brissett, and he had that game where he had the most completion of any quarterback. And I think he could be a starter, and we could see him start a couple times, but I think he's probably just going to remain a backup, and maybe he'll be a high level backup. I know that's a tier. The way these tiers are organized is interesting, but I think a fringe starter is exactly what I think he is, because he'll start games and he'll show that he's good, but he's not going to be this high tier quarterback that's going to win you every game that you play, or even a star quarterback at that. And then Michael Penix Jr. Listen, I loved Michael Penix Jr. coming out of the draft. I think he's a good player still, but between the injuries and just the lack of success and the team he has around him, I can't justify him saying anything other than development with a star upside. And I really hope he does reach star or proves me wrong and becomes like a super good quarterback. And I think he could do that, but right now the trajectory of his career, I'm pretty optimistic by putting him in this tier. And then you got Kirk Cousins. I really don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be a good quarterback. You know, he's going to be a fringe starter. I mean, not like the level of Jacoby Brissett, where it's a little interesting in his career. I think Kirk Cousins has ran his course. He always has a good game, and then he's usually not very good after that. And Lamar Jackson, I know he didn't have a great season, but he is still, and I'm not putting every single quarterback in the elite tier that is considered elite. I'm putting only a handful. Count on one hand. Lamar Jackson, by far, is top 5 quarterback. He has 2 MVPs. Really should have had 3 MVPs. He's a lot of first team All Pros. He's been to the AFC Championship game, and I know he can't get over the hump. But this is a guy that the Ravens should never even consider trading. He's not the problem on the team. Injuries doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but injuries aren't a big problem with him. Like even other high tier quarterbacks, he doesn't get injured as much as people talk about him getting injured. I think he's one of the best out there. Last year, I would have said he was top 2 quarterback. Maybe this year dinked him a little bit, but I still think he's a high tier quarterback. Tyler Huntley, yeah, he's gonna be a high level backup. I don't think he's going to be, a starter ever. But I like Tyler Huntley as a player. And I think he brings, stuff to Ravens. He won Ravens games. I'm a Bears fan, and he beat the Bears, which even though the Bears get a lot of praise this offseason, Tyler Huntley came in there and beat us. Josh Allen, obviously he's an elite tier. Should I rank these in the tiers? I'll save. No, I'll rank them. I think right now, Josh Allen and Lamar was better last year, but I think Allen's a little better this year. I like the way I have it now. But yeah, Josh Allen has spectacular seasons on his resume. Great resume. He can't get over the hump. I know his playoff performance was just pitiful this year, but I still think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, great quarterback. Anyone would be glad to have him on his team. He's just, and we saw this offseason. It might not be his fault. He might just have an incompetent team around him. But next we got Bryce Young, who I like Bryce Young. I think he's a good player. And I think he perfectly is emblematic of what an average starter should be. I really hope he doesn't get some massive contract that's just stupid, but that's not going to happen. I mean, he could not be a starter in 2 years, but I think he should be a starter next year. He had a great season this year. I know there's a lot of problems, inconsistency. He can fix that. He's shown flashes, especially in his playoff appearance. I really liked the performance I was seeing from Bryce Young, and I think absolutely he should be an average starter. And if he doesn't get paid too much, he could, and his salary is low and his team's able to build around him, he, he could definitely be a star player for a while. And I love the improvement I've seen from him. And it shows the first year doesn't really matter. You can improve. Don't let analysts or anyone tell you a quarterback can't improve year to year, especially if they're in that first year or their first contract. And then you got Caleb Williams, Bears fan here. I'm not going to be biased. You're not going to hear me glaze Caleb Williams. I think he's emblematic of, he could have a superstar upside, even an elite upside. Obviously, I'm biased there. But have I seen that? I mean, he's gave me some of the best football games I've seen in my life. But Williams overall hasn't gotten over the hump. But just look at his stats relative to everyone else. Besides completion percentage, he's a top 10 in a lot of stats. If he gets those checkdowns, he's fine. And the completion percentage is a little overrated, especially if Caleb Williams. If you just watch him, you can tell he will be a superstar. I'm putting him in development instead of star because I really think I'll be patient with my glaze of Caleb Williams, because the second he makes it, in MVP conversations, trust me, I will be glazing him tenfold than I am right now. He's spectacular quarterback. And I know people are talking about Tyler Badgett, but I haven't seen much from. I mean, the games he started, I've loved him. I've always said he's a good quarterback, and I've always thought, well, if the Bears could play him, we would probably be okay because he's a good quarterback, and I like him as our backup. But I haven't seen enough to even put him on a tier. Joe Burrow, yeah, I'm being controversial. Do not get mad, but Joe Burrow, he's injured constantly. It's not like he was injured this year. He's been injured a lot, and it's to the detriment of his team. And I get that he has a bad defense, but Dak Prescott had a horrible defense. He put up way better numbers than Joe Burrow. No one's saying put Dak Prescott in an elite tier, even though he's very similar to Joe Burrow at this time. And no one wants to make that comparison, but I will right now. I don't think Joe Burrow has been elite since his Super Bowl appearance and his AFC Championship. Ever since that, I've really not seen anything to indicate that he's elite other than his 2024 regular season performance. But I really, with the weapons he has, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins on offense, and he gets the excuses we get. I'm talking elite has to be elite. I don't see Joe Burrow finishing out right now and being, a Hall of Fame player. And for that, I can't put him in the elite tier. And say what you want about that in the comments. And then Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco, he's a high-level backup at this point. I mean, he's been like that since he started for the Browns 2 years ago. But yeah, that's pretty much what he is. We all know what Joe Flacco can do. Is he a good quarterback? Maybe not. But we all know that's what Joe Flacco has done. And then Jake Browning, I mean, horrible. He played horribly. He's not like, I don't care what he did a few seasons. He was horrible this year. Shedeur Sanders. I personally wanted Shedeur. I want Shedeur to succeed so bad. I think Shedeur, excellent quarterback. I don't care what people say. He can be excellent. But right now, I'll put him on fringe starters because I feel like it's more that, not that he's a fringe starter, but that he's in between the two tiers. And he's better than the two. But I think Shedeur will be good at some points in his career, but is he going to be great ever? That's to be seen. But I'm rooting for the best for Shedeur. I like Shedeur. Dylan Gabriel, I think that's perfect. I think what it says right there, development with starter upside, exactly how I would say it. Maybe he'll be a starter someday. Maybe he'll be a UFL 3-time champ. Don't really know. Deshaun Watson, I don't really care about. He's gonna be injured forever. Prescott again. I teased it before. I think he's a little worse than Burrow, but he's a superstar. And with the amount of praise Burrow gets and the amount of hate Prescott gets, they're really similar in a lot of ways. Just Prescott's a lot older than Burrow, but I would say Dak Prescott is an excellent football player. He's just paid way too much money, and that's why he won't succeed. But I think Dak Prescott deserves to be considered a superstar. Will he be a Hall of Famer? Probably not. Maybe he will be. Will he ever win a Super Bowl? Probably not. Maybe he will be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But I think he deserves some praise. The way we talk about Joe Burrow probably should be similar. And then Bo Nix. Oh, please put Bo Nix. I don't care what people say. He has a superstar upside. I love Bo Nix. I think he's a little worse than Caleb Williams just because we haven't seen, some just high level stuff and there was some inconsistency. But trust me, if I were to pick who will be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, if I had to pick five, he would be one of those five in the next 5 years. He has what it takes to be a Jalen Hurts player, or even Sam Darnold. Maybe even kind of Nick Foles and Matt Ryan at the most Matt Ryan, but I know he didn't win a Super Bowl, but whatever. I still think he has a high upside. Bo Nix is great. He's clutch. I don't want to hear it with his inconsistencies. I've already factored that in. Jared Goff again. Just I'm not the biggest fan of Jared Goff, but I think he's a star right now. I mean, he utilizes his weapons, and I don't think he's always at fault for the playoff losses. I think he's good. I don't think he's superstar, but I think he's good, and I think that he should be respected a little more given how consistent he's been. It's just because he can't play like some of these more athletic players. And then Jordan Love, again, I think he's a star, maybe a little better. I don't like the Packers at all. I really dislike them. But Jordan Love's not the problem with their team. Something's going on. If special teams, if it's coaching, something's getting them to not win. It's not Jordan Love. But, he's definitely not up there with some of these. But, maybe after this next year, he will be. But he's a good player, as much as I hate to say it. And Malik Willis is also, he's probably the best star upside player backup I've ever seen. He's great. I mean, he made me tremble in my boots as a Bears fan. So I don't want to hear any Malik Willis slander. I hope he does well on a team that's not in the NFC North. And might try to hurry this up a little. CJ Stroud. That was a horrible performance against the Patriots. Purely for that, I'm going to have to put him, I'm going to put him, I still think he's a little better than Bryce Young just because he's more consistently, Bryce Young has higher highs, but CJ Stroud's more consistency. But man, this is a low. And if he's paid a lot of money, I thought Houston could go to the Super Bowl this year. If he's paid a lot of money in this offseason, the Texans don't have a chance to go to the Super Bowl because that was just pitiful. But, he's okay. But I never really thought he was as good as people said he was. Well, it's easy to say in hindsight, but you know what I mean. And then Mills, I think he can become a starter. He looked good. Oh, maybe he's more of a fringe starter, but I don't think, he's probably not going to be a starter. But he's a good backup. He is a great backup. Daniel Jones, people will diss on Daniel Jones and whatever. I think he's, he could be a superstar. From what I've seen, I liked him better than both of these guys, which is probably controversial. Because he was a superstar, and I know he was coming back down to earth, but coming back down to earth doesn't mean he isn't a superstar. That means he's at most a superstar, coming to maybe just a star with some, because he's a little inconsistent. I think, the Giants were just a god-awful team, and I think now that he's off it, I think he'll be good. Maybe I'll be proven wrong and he's just going to stink. But hopefully he's not given a big contract. I feel like this is a pattern. Or to say, Richardson, I hope he's great. I think he's probably just a fringe starter. Just because he has more potential, I'm putting Sanders and Richardson high because I think they have potential. Richardson, his injury history just puts him lower than Sanders. But I really hope Richardson works out. I hope all these guys work out. As long as they're not on the Lions, Packers, and Vikings, I hope they all work out. Well, that's not true, because sometimes I hate on teams. And Lawrence, he's moved into star material. Maybe not above Goff right now, but he if he repeats again, he will surely be maybe even a top 10 quarterback. I loved what he was doing on the field this year, and he was absolutely deserving to be like the third MVP candidate because he was just, quite frankly, probably top 5 quarterback this season, which boosts his resume up a lot. So I think he needs some respect because out of all the hate people love to give him before, he's lived up to at least half of the huge amount of glaze he got. So Mahomes, please, I don't want to hear anyone saying, "Oh, Mahomes is not good." He's the best quarterback in the league. Look at his resume. His team looked trash without him. Come on. Gardner Minshew, horrible. Oludokun, not great. Smith, maybe he'll start again, but I don't think it's. Yeah, no, I don't. Since we've seen some stuff, maybe I'll give him some leeway. But Kenny Pickett, you could just mix up these. He's probably he Jake Browning looked horrible. Herbert, don't care what people say. I'm a Herbert Glazer. Herbert is right on. He's a playoff win away from being a superstar. And look at that offensive line. He cooked. Okay, I don't want to say he cooked because he lost, but he did as much as he could. He definitely didn't cook, but he did. He had as good of a bad game as you could have when you have just a horrible offensive line. And I don't know, you can't really do anything without an offensive line. So he's great. Stafford, I would say he's better than Allen right now just because of the seasons he's had. His Super Bowl winner, second best quarterback in the league. Spoiler, these are probably my top 4, barring, a surprise. And probably the only people I'll put in my elite tier. But he's played amazing. He's consistent. He's had, 2 bad games. He should have been the MVP. If you thought Drake May should have been the MVP, I'm sorry. You just don't know anything about football, and that's okay. I don't know that much about football, if I'm being honest. But yeah, let's be honest. He's not. Drake May did not deserve it. But that's a whole other rant I could give you. Stafford played phenomenal this year. Should definitely be taken as an elite tier quarterback. Quinn Ewers, maybe he'll be a starter. I think he's so overrated. Same with Wilson backup. Tua, yeah, I think his best case, that's his best case. That's being generous. Tua had a horrible season, but I think Tua will be fine. This is such a long-winded video. JJ McCarthy, yeah, he's a fringe starter. Maybe a little worse than Sanders because he has a great team. Sanders does not. That's really what it comes down to. And McCarthy, he always posts on Instagram after every win, and I know that doesn't matter, but it's just so annoying. After he beat the Bears, he was posting about all of that. He's acting like he's like this big guy, and he plays horribly, and there's just no accountability. And he was on a cheater team. I know I'm hating because I'm a Bears fan, but he's just not good. and they say he got better, and he did get better, but he's just not good. He's not that guy, and I've said that since day one, since they drafted him. There was no way that you just had to be so sorry for any team that drafted him because there's all the signs were there. But whatever. And then high level backup. May, as much as I think of May, is so overrated. He's a star, not a superstar, a star, and he's worse than all the other stars. He's so overrated. Just don't get me started. Drake May is not that good. He's not. He's not that good. My goodness. I get heated over football. Drake May, overrated. We saw it in the Super Bowl. We saw it in the AFC Championship. We saw it in the divisional round, and we saw it in the wild card round. He does not have what it takes to win a Super Bowl for his team. He got there from gracious luck of the schedule, which is truly his best aspect. He's not even close. And don't be surprised when next year he doesn't make the playoffs because he won't. And I'm putting all my reputation on that. He won't make the playoffs. Drake May, I've been saying this forever. Come on. He's not good. No, he's great. Okay, he's a star. But he's not all that. That's what I'm saying. Tyler Shuck, he could be a star, but, he's a rookie. Can't really put any rookies above that. Same with Dart. Oh, Rattler. Ooh, I like Rattler. I like myself a little Rattler, other than his competing with Caleb Williams, but that was kind of fake anyway. Dart, I think he's just got a little better of a chance than Shuck, but just a little to make it. But Dart, Shuck, the story. They're good. Actually, I think Shuck's a little better because Dart gets injured, and I think if injury is not a problem on the Giants next year, I will be shocked because as good as this team has gotten compared to before, I think the injuries are just going to ruin them. I think, we got some good backups. I'm not really going to focus too much on these bottom ones. Fields, maybe he'll be a starter again because I love Joseph Fields. Cook, horrible. Taylor, he's probably not going to be a starter. He's a high-level backup. Hurts conversation. Where I stand, Hurts is a superstar, won a Super Bowl. He's lost his stock a little. He's not in the elite tier yet. But if you say he's not the reason why they got there and that he's a system quarterback, you don't know what you're talking about. This guy, he went in there, he won his games, he did everything he needed to do in both Super Bowls he went to win the game. He was basically robbed of his first Super Bowl. And, he won Super Bowl MVP. He was dominant. And this guy was second-team All-Pro at 1 year. It's not like he was bad in the regular season. He's good. He's a good quarterback. He's had an off year. He got Kevin Patullo. Watch Kevin Patullo next year. Whatever he's in, that team will be way worse than what their expectations are. Trust me. Hurts will be fine. Hurts is a good superstar. He's a superstar. You got Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he's just average because he's, old. I'm not a fan of Aaron Rodgers, if you couldn't tell. Rudolph. Yeah, he's basically emblematic of a fringe starter. He'll start every single season, but is he any good? Hopefully these guys in this tier are better than him. And then you got, I can't speak on these people, Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. Brock Purdy, he is a good quarterback. I don't think he's better than some of these others, but he made it to a Super Bowl. I would say May is very similar to Drake May. May is similar to Purdy in a lot of ways, but Purdy's just been more consistent. And I think, I like Brock Purdy's story, and I hope he gets to a Super Bowl again. But, is it likely? We'll have to see with the injury history. But, if he gets injured again, he's going to get knocked a few points because he just gets injured. Mac Jones, he's got star upside. He's like Willis in a lot of ways. He could start on a team, and he could be okay. Even like on a bad team. He'll be fine. I think he was a little overhated. Darnold, let's go Darnold. Darnold, can't hear any hate on Darnold. He's definitely a star. And he's done it twice in the regular season. So for that reason, I feel like he's the best star we got. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl and had 14 wins in 2 seasons. What else could you want from a starter? I don't care if he's a system guy. Look at this. Herbert, you could say, is a system guy. Love, you could say, is a system guy. Purdy, you could definitely say, is a system guy. They all can't do what Darnold did, and he improves every year. Well, who's to say he's not going to get even better next year? Mayfield has to be the most... Okay, I feel like I'm hating on these people. Maybe I... Mayfield, no. He's the most overrated player in football. Like, I hear glaze for Baker Mayfield so much. Like he's some star. He doesn't win anything. He wins the NFC South, the easiest conference, and then people act like he's like spectacular. And he talks so much trash. I don't think Mayfield's any good. No, I don't think Mayfield's good enough to win a Super Bowl. And it's hard to root for someone who just I feel like he just, you know, he just radiates like he's just deserves all this praise when he's can't even beat the NFC South this year with an easy schedule. So I don't really know, and it's not like he has a bad team around him either. So I don't really know why he gets considered such high level that he is. And then wrapping it up here, I got Cam Ward, and I think he's like Shuck and Dart. I think he's a little better just because I'm a little biased. I liked Cam Ward. It's his first year, and some of the throws he makes just are jaw dropping. And you know he started all his games, and I think that's an underrated thing. And maybe that's because I'm a Caleb Williams guy. But if you start every single game you play, I mean, come on, that's a great. And I mean, Shuck and Dart didn't. But Cam Ward did. He started a lot of games. I think he had the most snaps. Maybe comment if I'm wrong, but I think he had the most snaps of any guy. And I thought this was not as bad as Bryce Young, so I think he could improve. And then finally the Commanders, you got Daniels and you got Mariota. I think Mariota, before I go into Jaden Daniels, you know, he's a high level backup. Taylor's not that high. You know, I don't really care about where I'm putting these, but like Flacco might be a little higher. Whatever, I don't really care. He's fine. He had an okay season. He had a season kind of like Cam Ward, but what should I say about Jaden Daniels? I mean, I think he's the best player in his class. Him and Drake May are about equal in different ways. It's just dependent on if he performs well in the regular season next year, which he probably will. But then if he gets injured again, which people want to close their eyes and say he doesn't get injured a lot, I think it's clear that, you know, Jaden Daniels has somewhat of a problem with injury. And it's okay to say that. It's not like... It's not wrong. He does. And, I mean, he was injured a lot of the season, and his injuries are bad, and he scrambles all the time. And, you know, he had such high expectations. He'll be okay. He'll be a good player. But I'm not putting him in the top 10. I'm not putting him in the top 12. But to people who are saying, oh, he's not a good quarterback and ignoring him, you shouldn't ignore Jaden Daniels. He's a great quarterback. He'll do everything you need him to do. And when he starts, he's a star. I know he looked a little iffy even when he started this year. But that's just because the Bears are just so amazing and spectacular. No, I'm just kidding. It's just because, he's a good quarterback at the end of the day. And could he have won the Patriots the Super Bowl? No, but he could have actually showed up in the Super Bowl, unlike Drake May. Uh, but regardless, I think this is my list. If you don't agree with it, let me know how. Probably gonna say I don't know anything about football, which is probably true. But thank you for staying for this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. Hope you don't even have a great day. I hope you have a spectacular day. And if you want to watch more content like this and to actually learn the deep fundamentals of football, because I'm actually the biggest ball knower out there, then you should subscribe, like this video, give a thumbs up, and stay tuned for the next videos. And yeah, thank you for watching and have a great day.